Hey everybody, my name is Zach McCormick, joined by Dead in studio today, talking about their new album, Poetry. I'm joined by Jason and Emily. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk about the last time that we chatted with you in 2022. You had just released your latest album at that time, Blue Skies, and the lingering effects of the pandemic really kind of had sort of affected the way that you were able to roll that album out, or maybe it's just different now at this point in 2024. But what's changed since the last time that we chatted with you all as far as your touring and releasing of a record is concerned?
I mean, we've just been like back in the world, and we've been like on the road pretty much nonstop.
I feel like the fans have changed.
Yeah.
There's more of them, and they're really enthusiastic.
That's great.
And there's like multi-generations.
Oh, cool. So people are bringing their parents, people are bringing their kids, maybe even potentially.
There's a lot of,
the kids.
Parents, children.
Like first show ever.
Duo kind of like.
That's going to be so cool.
It's cool.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about speaking of, spending a bunch of time on the road, you all decided for your latest album, Poetry, to like write and record it rather than, staying home in Chicago, which I think you'd done for previous records. You decided to take it on the road for the album process as well. So you started in Taos, New Mexico. There was a stop in Bainbridge Island in Washington. What was creatively exciting to you about getting out of Chicago at that time to work on Poetry?
Kind of at the beginning of it all was actually just to make things work logistically, because Emily was living in New Mexico at the time. So it's like the first time we weren't all in the same city. But then it kind of wound up spinning that into just like having an adventure, and then like infusing making the record to be a bit of an adventure rather than just like going through the same motions in the same place that we've always been.
Yeah, I was thinking about the Clash and how they like went away to write a rock album, and I was like, can we do something like that but like free, like make it free?
Yeah, totally.
And so we went to my house in New Mexico, and then we went to our friend's parents' house in Bainbridge Island, and it was just fun to like step into the energy of like the only job we have is to write. So there's no outside distractions. It's like we eat, we sleep, we write, we eat, we sleep, we write, and we're just like at like writing summer camp or something.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. I could also see it would be kind of just cool to like have a travel experience that wasn't married to like the cycle of touring where it's like, seeing the back of venues all over the world or whatever,
Yeah, I was going to say it's like we spend so much time in like a black painted room. Yeah. And then that's like my vision of what a city is. I'm
totally.
Like, I know that four walls.
Yeah.
Pretty well at this point.
You're like, I know this gas station, I know this green room.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Yeah. And there's just like a little bit, time is different because, we're always on a rush on tour, and we have to be at the next place, and we have to be at soundcheck or here or whatever. And it was really just like we took it as it come and like let ourselves be open to like when the inspiration would come, and everything was just always set up and on. So anytime an idea would come, whether it be like 3 a.m. or right after we had coffee or whatever, we basically only had to stop when we were in Taos at Emily's house if it would run on solar panels. So when the sun went down, you're on like a timer until like we ran out of battery, and we're like, well, the battery's done, we gotta stop for the night.
Yeah.
Was that ever like frustrating? Did you ever get like you were like really coming close to an idea, finishing it off, and then
I think it's kind of fun. Like
no, it was just like a fun boundary to play within.
Mm-hmm.
And
you
that was
kind of hang it up at a certain point.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had a lot of time, so breaks are invited. But yeah, it was interesting because it was really cold, and we had to like chop. We literally were chopping wood to go into. It was heated by a wood stove.
I was going to say, let's talk a little bit about your life there. Or it sounds like you're not living there anymore, but like at one point you were living in this like sustainable, like off the grid style home. It looks kind of like they're called Earthships. You were saying they look kind of like hobbit holes.
Yeah,
sort of built into the ground. What was your life like there? Were you farming? Were you raising animals? What were you doing?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Well, I moved there to learn to build the Earthships, which is like a hobbit house, like on a Star Wars planet. That's awesome. What I would describe the vibe.
Yeah, totally.
But also mixed with, unfortunately, like an HOA and an Airbnb neighborhood.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's the like real.
Too. Yeah.
But I went there like fresh faced and excited about like starting a punk community.
Awesome.
in the hobbit houses. But yeah, I ended up buying horses. I had a baby cow. I had chickens. I was fully homesteading.
Yeah, totally.
And learning how to live off grid. And I just wanted to know if I could do it. Like, can I survive without modern amenities and, without like Like there was no DoorDash, there was no town was 20 minutes away, and I did a great job. And I felt really proud of myself. And now I just recently relocated to upstate New York, where I'm trying the homestead thing again, but with like a bit of a more vicious winter. So I'm learning a new version where now it's like ticks and coyotes are like the predators, and in Taos it was like coyotes and rattlesnakes
and scorpions and that kind of stuff, I would imagine.
To be fair, there's like the winter is crazy in Taos too, because we were there.
The winter is crazy,
I was sleeping under like 12 blankets and just like.
And he's from the Midwest,
I was
so that's crazy.
They don't tell you about the desert being cold at night, but it was
the high desert.
High desert, that makes sense.
It was like running through feet of snow every morning.
It was cold, but it's like dry cold, which is different than like wet cold.
Yeah,
I would say
the lake effect Chicago humidity cold, not the same thing as the desert.
It gets in your bones. And like because I was off grid, I got used to not having air conditioning and normal heating, and I had to work for my environment. Like anything I did, I had to work for. So it's like if I wanted to be warm, I had to chop wood.
Yeah.
And if I was lazy, I would just like go under a sheepskin, which I just was like, I guess I'll buy a sheepskin because that's what people do on Game of Thrones.
Absolutely.
I was like, what do the medieval people do? Like it's like, oh, the power went out, I'll light candles, and I'm like, I really went like olden days.
That's awesome.
We tried to make a bead out of the axe. But it,
the wood splitting axe. That's awesome. So I was gonna say, what was the interaction when y'all showed up then too? Was it like, okay, this is cool. Wow, you're like really doing it out here. Did you adjust as Chicago city fella to the natural splendor, or were you enjoying it?
I'm a pretty malleable.
Jason's
he's flexible.
Unlike anyone anywhere. Yeah, he can sleep on the ground with nothing and be fine.
But. Yeah, no, it was wonderful. We had a little mobile studio that I've been building over the years, and so I was able to we just set up camp, and it was pretty much just like we know how to make music, so that's just kind of hunkered down.
What songs on the record were kind of developed in that sort of initial phase there, if you can remember, or maybe the style that you were writing? Maybe.
The environment was really cozy, obviously, and everything was like kind of soft and warm, like the adobe walls and everything. It all had everything was kind of like all the edges were rolled off, and it kind of like. I think lend us to writing a little bit more sensitive material. So like Alien was part of that set.
Dist B.
Dist B was written there. Pure Gold was written there. Cool, yeah. There might be one or two other ones.
Or like the softer.
Yeah.
Like I was leaning into soft voice. Quiet, soft winter voice, Emily, because I'm more known for like the loud
belting.
Stuff.
Yeah, totally. You're like, I can show my other side.
I just was like, why not? You know, we're
absolutely.
5 records in, let's try some stuff out. And
Hard to Love also.
Hard to Love. Hard to Love was written in Taos prior to the boys getting there, and then I sent it to them a while back, and they were like, we got to do the song in Dead, and so we reinvented it for Dead.
Cool.
And they convinced me. Jason was like, this is the best song, and he like loves the song. I was like, are you sure? And then it's like
Hard to Love is really cool.
Yeah,
it's got that kind of almost like country harmony to it. Like there's like a rockabilly element to the guitar. I don't know. It's really cool. I dig it as well.
I'm a Southern girl, so it's like my Southern roots are coming out a little bit.
I feel like you can really hear the desert in that song, especially like the first version I heard it is just of this voice memo, which in my mind's eye, I picture you just like sitting in the desert with like a little acoustic
I literally
guitar,
was,
like,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I write like one guitar song every like 4 years because I'm really bad at guitar. Flying was the last guitar song that I wrote.
I think of that region of the Southwest as kind of having sort of like an alien quality to it too. The desert feels like the surface of another planet.
I mean, literally, there's aliens.
I was going to say, there's all sorts of alien encounters and stuff. Did you have any creepy kind of alien encounters?
I mean, I lived on a road called Lemuria, which is light being, and like the developer of that community was like states that he like got the plans for these houses from the aliens.
Oh wow. Okay, cool. So it's like that. That's awesome.
It's like, well, maybe he did. I don't know.
Yeah, hey,
Who am I to say?
Yeah. Well, that's great. Let's talk about kind of the next stop on the trip, which is this Bainbridge Island in Washington. You're going from the desert to this lush kind of Pacific Northwest coastal region. What was the difference there, you know, from working at the last spot? Like what was the differences that you found while working in Seattle creatively, or just like what songs kind of came out from that session?
The environment definitely was like colder and like starker. I mean, we're on this on the Puget Sound, and so, or I guess maybe on a bay.
It's like a misty
lake.
lake. Cool. Moss everywhere.
Yeah, but
stones.
There's a kind of this like
green,
Twin Peaks elemental, because the tide you're watching come in and out every day, and you're just like part of this. It's very like you're aware of the sort of greatness of the earth that's operating.
Yeah,
you know,
I can see that.
And so there was a little bit of that, like Necklace kind of shows up in that song a little bit.
Mood Ring.
We wrote Mood Ring there as well. We were kind of recording this really echoey attic above a garage. So there was like this huge pitched roof, and that's like where all the clappy reverb like actually comes from, is like this acoustic.
Recording it live
It's just literally the room, you know?
That's awesome.
So yeah, there was a lot of that. And then my best friend, whose partner's parents owned the house, he came and stayed with us to basically chaperone us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and but he wound up like cooking us home cooked meals every night, and it was just like really nice. We just would work all day, and then we would get a text from him. He's like, "Time for dinner?"
Yeah.
Come on
and it
down.
was like
I made pasta.
Yeah,
it was like being a teenager and going to like your friends' like fancy parents' like lake house, and you're like, "This is so nice." Like they have a drink fridge in the garage, and like the floors, the floors are heated. You're just like, "Wow."
We're gonna watch R-rated movies later. It's gonna be rad.
Yeah, the
so
house where
nice.
there's no rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it was like no parents. It was like no parents.
And your friends, you're just trying to just keep the place from burning down. But it's not like,
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, Dad's not really known for trashing,
Absolutely
stuff.
Not yet. Yeah.
Anyways,
Give us one more record, maybe.
There you go. So from there, where did the journey take you? I heard that you had sort of returned home to Chicago after that, but was there anything that kind of happened on the trip back home at that point?
We've been kind of retracing those steps literally over the last couple of days. We've driven from Seattle to here, and so I've been re-experiencing this trauma.
Oh no!
Yeah,
it's a tough part of the drive.
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
Me and Eric, we had been gone for like about a month writing all these songs, and we're really ready to get home. We were about to go to England to go into a dry cleaning, and so we're like, let's just do it in one drive. Like, we can do 30 hours,
From
no problem.
Seattle to Chicago.
Tough guys. Let's do it. Yeah, it'll be fun.
We love a long ride.
They're-
Road dogs. Yeah.
So we were driving, and it's at about like 12 hours in. It's a crazy winter storm.
Yeah.
They closed the highway down. So then instead of stop, we're like, we'll just go through the mountains. So we did the mountains for 4 hours, listening to Buck Meek's Candle just like on repeat, literally for like hours. And then right when we got out of it, like the weather cleared up. Like my car, literally the van the whole time was just like drifting back. Like for 4 hours, I'm just
Spooky.
like all attention.
White knuckling the entire way.
Yeah, we get out of it all. It's beautiful. We find this gas station. We fill up, and we're like, I think we could do it. We're feeling really good. We're
12
like really
hours.
Well, that was at this point. It's maybe we're 17 hours in or something. And we're like, okay, cool.
Like
I think
17 more.
we can do it. Like we're feeling really good, and you're kind of at that point where it's like 2 a.m. You can't get a hotel anymore. or whatever.
You're like, damned if I do, damned if I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, so then I'm bombing the hill at 80 miles an hour. I hit the deer and it just flies off into space.
No.
And we thought we were okay, but as we drove for another hour...
They did not get out of the car.
I turned the brights on, and then all of a sudden one of them was shooting into the sky. And I was like, perhaps we've like sustained some damage here. Car broke down in the middle of the wilderness, and then we were stuck out there for a couple hours, and then someone rescued us basically, and then we were stuck there for 5 days.
They were in like this
really small town called Forsyth,
almost invisible town. Yeah,
at the Sundowner Inn.
Oh, there
Shout
you go.
out John. And that he was actually he wound up being our ultimate savior because there was no way to leave the town, and we had to go to England. So he drove us 90 miles to the nearest town that had a rental car agency.
Awesome.
And it was such a small town. Like, you guys, like, what'd you do? You like left the hotel and like.
Immediately upon leaving the motel room door, a guy was sweeping up the street, and he said, "I heard about the deer." I was like, hadn't been outside for more than 2 minutes. You know?
So
you're like, well, you're new in town.
Yeah, you're not from here.
Yeah, exactly.
You could walk across it in about 10 minutes. So, yeah, it was a very small place.
And I was not there. I'm posh, so I flew from all these places. Like, I wasn't in the car for any of this road trip. I was flying.
Sounds like you didn't miss much.
I would have never been like, yeah, let's keep going. I would have been like, we have to stop. So it was like boys' adventure.
Yeah.
And they didn't even, you guys didn't even tell me, like, our communication skills are our versions are so different. Because, like, I didn't even know they had hit a deer until, like, I don't know, like days later, like, oh yeah. I'm like, what? If I was there, I would have been texting everyone I know, like, oh my God, we just hit a deer, and like sent pictures and like.
Yeah, totally. That is the kind of the classic Midwestern, like, oh yeah, I hit a deer over the weekend. It's just something happens.
Burying the lead like times 1,000.
Absolutely. So you made it back to Chicago. You're finishing the writing process. You're developing the rest of poetry there, and you're also working with an outside producer for the first time in your friend, I believe the name is it
Ziad
Asrar. And and from the band Whitney. So what did he bring to the album, and why did you decide for the first time to work with an outside producer after kind of going fully DIY, producing the records yourself up until this point?
Mm-hmm. Like, me and Ziad have like always gone along over the years, but always kind of just colliding with each other wherever we were. But I knew that I like really appreciate like his music tastes, and he also gets like doing the really nice stuff that Whitney does, but also like being trashy and like he loves punk music and everything. So I kind of had a hunch that we would work really well together, and we did one song together, Eggshells. I recorded everything at our space, and then I just sent him the songs to mix, and me and him mixed it together, and then it was kind of enough proof in the pudding that we could just get it going. And so it was really a wonderful experience. Like, he brought like a really matched energy, I think, to me, because normally I'm like losing my mind in there, like running the board and trying to perform. And
it's really hard to do both at the same time.
Like
two parts of your brain like split down the middle.
Yeah.
And Jason got to be more of lean into his performer more and have more fun. And then we had this extra person, which like kind of made us all, when like you're with family and there's like an outsider, and then you're like all more polite suddenly because like it made like the vibe be a little bit more.
We have an observer.
Polite.
We have to be on our best behavior right now.
And like, because I struggle with recording, so it was helpful to have an outsider sort of help calm me down, where Jason didn't have to do it the whole time. Like if I was struggling with something, so it made all of our experiences funner. And then Ziad and Jason were just like in the studio for hours, and we would leave and come back, and they would be like, they've created their own language. There's like an invisible gremlin in the corner that they've talked to.
Secret
like they
handshakes.
lost.
We were doing like 14-hour days for 14 days in a row.
Wow.
So I was with him a lot.
Yeah.
It was like Peaky Blinders accents, like the whole time they were talking, and like
Incredible.
So funny.
My nickname was Tommy Pockets.
I love it.
Because I always wanted to get everything, the drums. I'm like, just scooch the drums a little bit.
Just a little bit.
It felt like Ziad brought joy into the room and helped sustain the joy. So like, I'm excited for the next record if we choose to work with him again, because it's just going to be really fun.
And we don't really collaborate with anyone, so it was like kind of a big jump to include anyone's opinion in anything, because we are so insular in our way of doing things.
Yeah, and we just like know ourselves enough and know what we like. But so it was a big leap to release some of the reins.
Yeah, totally. But also sometimes bringing in an outside perspective can kind of give you like a better idea of what it is that you want to create, because you have someone kind of sharing and helping sharpen that. You did the same thing with the music videos this time around, bringing in an outside help as well too. What was that experience like? Kind of like,
it was relaxing.
Yeah.
Because usually like Jason in the production and audio, I'm like that with the visual and music videos, where I produce it all and I like love doing it. But it was really cool to just show up and be a kid, in the back of the van rather than like driving the car. And our friend Glam Hag is so good at everything, and we knew like this is the person, and they knocked it out of the park. And of course, Alex Grelly is always the star of all of our videos.
Yeah, totally.
So it was just easy, and we didn't really even give any input. We were just like, do whatever you want.
Yeah, and like Glam had been in a bunch of our music videos as well. So
yeah,
like
totally.
We already like it's like just a natural, like we already are in the same world and language. Like
you're expanding the DIY, but like not that wide. You know, it's still part of the family. It's still part of the connective tissue of your community. It's just, bringing in an extra person to help out a little bit.
As things like go along, it's just we're always trying to like include our friends who we admire. So it's like giving everyone a chance and a platform in some other little pocket.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's talk about developing some of the different sounds in the record, because one of the things that I really think is like your superpower in this band is your incredible way that you weave your vocal melodies and harmonies together. And, like punk rock music, sometimes it can be seen as like vocals are an afterthought, or if not an afterthought, at least like something that you're not supposed to try that hard at. You're supposed to just like sound good and be cool and not worry about it. Like, do you develop your vocals? Is it something where you two are like talking about this a lot, or are you just jamming together, working out ideas back and forth? How do you two build these really cool vocal parts?
Honestly, it's kind of like two kids like talking over each other.
That's great.
And like the two of us just like, we're very intuitive with music. I feel like we come from intuitive places, and so we both are just intuiting harmonies and stuff. And harmonies is definitely a skill set of mine. Like I love harmonizing. So, yeah, we just start, and that's how we write all the songs, just like instrumentally as well. Like we just start playing, and then we follow whoever has a lead, and then if they drop off, we follow the next person, and then the song is formed that way. But the vocals are very like, Jason will start singing, and then I'll either start harmonizing, or if I have a lead part, I'll just jump in with it, and then he will step back, and then we just kind of listen to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I think our just awareness has gotten more fine-tuned over the years of being able to listen to what the other person is doing while you're also putting your own idea, and then being able to make like a quick judgment, like that one's better, or like actually mine's better. I'm gonna keep yelling it over.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and it works out. Yeah, it works out. Like we are able to share the spotlight, I guess, and that I think is a rare quality that not everybody can do. And also, like, I feel like our voices are. I didn't know this at first, but having been in the band a while and hearing feedback, it's like I didn't know people thought like it's ungendered in a way, because people
totally.
think like I'm Jason and Jason's me, like, because I guess the register's lower and higher. I don't understand what it is, because I'm too close to the source. But
I've screwed that up even in mixing, where I was like, oh, can you turn out that harmony that Emily did? And when we solo it, I'm like, that's me.
Because sometimes, like our voices are like coins. I don't know. It's like something mystical about it, and I love that it's interesting in that way, where it's not about a girl or a boy or like a lead singer. It's just like two voices creating art, and it makes me feel good as a band that we don't have like our identities aren't as important as like the stuff we're making or something.
You're trying to make it as good as possible, regardless of who's like lead on a particular track.
Sure.
Yeah,
whatever that means.
Just serve the song the best.
Yeah, basically what is best for the song.
Totally.
Like what words and what sounds, and we're both really free about experimenting with stuff, and like we don't have fear around like jumping, like trying to do something weird or different. We all, me, Eric, and Jason, all give each other space to like be bad or something.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. Try stuff out, be playful, maybe would be a good example of that.
Yeah. But I feel like it's a mark of a good writer if you are able to allow yourself to be really shitty, you know, in quotes, because it's all relative.
Yeah.
Because that's how you are really good, is like being able to be bad.
You have to trust your instincts at every kind of level, be them more playful versus more, you know, like this is the one. Yeah, totally.
And just like, I'm never self-conscious trying something.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no self-consciousness really, which is rare for me. I don't like I'll do it in front of them, but like if I'm by myself, if I'm anywhere else, I have to feel completely alone to try stuff or even sing at all. Really. But
So it shows the comfort you've had with this band now after this many records and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk about a little bit about kind of preserving one of the other qualities that I think is so cool about your records. There's this element of like space and dynamics to them where, you know, I'm sure as you've gone throughout your career, the impetus to like add extra layers to your albums or like add extra players, extra sounds, thicken the mixes up might be there. But you all have had this great ability to just keep like balance, quiet moments, you know, the mixes aren't cluttered, the melodies are really clean. Like, is that an intentional thing that you work on to try to kind of keep that element of space in there?
Yeah, I think there's like an idea of like, I guess like kind of what you're saying, like the melodies are clean. It's like this like pure melody thing, and I think we're just like have a natural sense of certain like really simple melodies that like kind of can stand on their own. So rather than like you know, adding too much distractions, it's like it's nice just to distill it down to these like pure things. And because we are so vocally driven, I think it's like kind of a big important part for us is like to like live that and then build around it a little bit. And the guitar, I guess, is kind of the other.
Yeah, I feel like the guitar is like the other. Well, yeah, I think it's just like our personal preference, and also we both know how to write a pop song, and so we know what we're doing in a sense, but we also the sense of purity around like a house that has good bones. We just like know how to stick with the good bones, and you don't need that much frill. And I think it's also an art to be able to be like, a song is really good if you take all the trappings away and it still stands on its own. Like whether it's just the words or a simple melody, like we kind of stay in that lane.
That's why I like doing the acoustics.
I was going to say, this session today kind of given a different feel of the songs that you were doing, the acoustic style versions of the sessions.
It's a great test of like, is this a song to withstand the ages?
Yeah, totally.
I have like a memory. Actually, we were talking about Twin Peaks earlier, but I used to tour with them a lot, and we were like all sitting around a campfire and like, you know, the guitar was just getting passed around or whatever. And like when it was my turn, I'm like, I don't have any like
good
songs that I can play on the, like everything would be like a weird lead line or something. And that was kind of something that's always been in my mind of like, oh, can the song be played at like a campfire or something in the most simple way? And which I think that's what we do
cool.
now. So.
Absolutely. Totally. And, you know, I kind of think of this like sort of preserving that element of quiet or that response as being something that, you know, with the Pixies were really good at over the years. And you all just recently covered Mr. Greaves back in October for a cool guy. Was this like a one-off Halloween type of thing? How'd you find your way to that song? And like, what was fun to you about recording
Well, it's actually like we were asked to record it for this TV show, The Great.
Oh, cool. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
It's a cool show, and that director's really cool, and so it felt really exciting to be asked. They only include one modern piece of music each episode, so that was like this song.
It was a very unhinged scene, and it was also my first time experiencing someone giving me notes about what I do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I handled it interestingly, but they don't know that. Jason had to like be like, it's okay. But yeah, because I'm used to like in this band I do whatever I want and everybody's encouraging, and like we'll critique each other every now and then, but it's never like, can you make it sound more deranged? It's like, what do you mean?
Totally.
Back to our like, we don't collaborate with
exactly.
Yeah, like I'm like, oh. But yeah, we did a good job. We would have never covered that song had they not asked us to. So,
but it was a really neat way to like get in the mind of someone else's music, because I don't really know how to play anyone else's songs or anything like that. So
I was gonna say I
dislike covering.
Do covers every now and then, but it's not something that I've seen you all do a whole bunch. So I was kind of curious the story behind that one.
Really fun, and there's like a little bit less of, you know, there's always this when you're writing your own music, this element of yourself that's in it, and you're like, well, this is my idea, and like a self-conscious about it maybe, where like with this, like the song was written already, so like all I have to do is have fun in recording a new version of it. So it was a real lightness and fun aspect of it, I think, in making it, which I think comes across. There's lots of like, I was just like, I'm gonna make a weird sound here. Like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I had the opposite experience. I was like, because I'm like, it has to be better than the original. Like that's how I think about it. And I'm like competitive with myself.
Level
I'm like, I have to be cooler than it has to be different but also cool and original and like also like relate and
So you're wrapping up the fall tour of the States in just a couple of days here with 3 days at Talia Hall in Chicago, and then you're going to do some Europe stuff in early 2025. But what else is kind of on the horizon that you're excited about, working towards, just has been energizing you creatively? Anything out there in the world?
I mean, this has kind of been our first opportunity to play the new record and the new songs for people live, and it's been really infectious, I think, of just like a really overwhelmingly positive and exciting. So more shows, I think.
I'm excited to tour more.
Yeah.
And like I'm excited to like spend the next year touring and writing for whatever comes next. And then in my personal life I'm like homesteading and like doing horse stuff, and so I'm excited to get more into the horse world.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ded, for joining me in the studio. New album, Poetry, is out now. It's fantastic. Your acoustic session as well sounded great. We're so grateful for you joining us here at The Current.
Thanks for your time. Having us.
The Current is public media made possible thanks to member support.